Raising children, especially during a pandemic, can be a bumpy, stressful, uncertain process, and sometimes you just don't know where to turn.
Dr. Lisa Damour is a New York Times adolescent columnist, a best-selling author, and host of the popular Ask Lisa podcast. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
When does, and this was happening before COVID with social media, but when does anxiety and/or depression cross over into something that's a disorder and that needs serious attention?
Terrific question. Well, anxiety is a normal, healthy function. It's part of being human. We should generally treat anxiety like a personal alarm system. It lets us know when something's not right. It helps us to stay safe. The only time you need to worry about anxiety is if you have anxiety when nothing's wrong, everything's okay. In that case, we would want to take good care of that and address that and treat that. The other time we worry about anxiety is if it's happening and it's way out of proportion to what's wrong. So we want kids to be mindful about COVID, aware of what's going on around them. We don't want them to be having panic attacks about the things that make them worried. As for depression, it's sometimes hard to tell it apart from sadness. But one way to think about it is sadness stops by for a visit, depression moves in. So when we're sad about something, and usually we feel better if we just let ourselves be sad or if something comes along that makes us feel better. When we're depressed, we're kind of depressed about everything, and things around us improving and changing don't shift that mood. And if that happens, if there's low mood for days at a time, and especially in teenagers, if there's irritable mood for days and days and days at a time, we would want to get that evaluated for depression.
As far as turning things around, obviously, if it's a serious issue, you want to find someone to talk to. But you do make mention of the fact that if you're feeling down, a good rule of thumb is to try and book things further out that are fun, even if you're not feeling like I am never going to want to do that. But it's good to look for something positive in the long term.
Absolutely. Some of the most important lessons we can take in the pandemic come from the field of positive psychology, where we have showed that negative experiences and positive experiences can live side by side. What this means is you don't have to wait until the pandemic is over to try to do things that feel enjoyable or that you can look forward to. So put them on your calendar, make a plan to connect with a friend, make a plan to stop by a museum. Do those things, make scheduled events in your life. Even if you don't think you're going to enjoy it when the time comes, even if you're not in the mood right now, what we know is that having those things planned and actually going through with them usually boosts your mood.
So let's say the kids are resistant to that. They're not listening, or they just won't open up about what the issue is. What do you do then? And I understand this may be different for an 8-year-old versus a 14-year-old.
Sure. So sometimes we have a big agenda or we want to talk about something and our kid is somehow not on board with our plan. So there are a few ways to go about it. The first thing to say is, look, you're in a really crummy mood. What we're doing isn't working. I have several ideas of things we could do, ways we could get out and about. You tell me which among these sound good to you or things that you would like to try. But hanging around the house being grumpy, we're not going to do that. We've been doing that for too long.
What?
There are other times when we can tell that our kid is grumpy and we ask them what's going on and they're not very forthcoming. If that's happening, what I would say is we are not always in the mood to talk about things just because somebody else is in the mood to talk about things. And this is true for our kids as well. So look for moments, maybe when they mention what's happening, and then take that opening to have a deeper conversation. And also remember that sometimes when kids are having a hard time, they may not want to talk about it with us, but they do enjoy our warm and quiet presence. So sometimes just being friendly and available is really what they need. They don't always want to download the whole situation with us.
What's your general rule of thumb about social media? I know, we have teenage daughters, and it just seems like this endless parade of it can be very negative, and I'm wondering what you think the long-term effects are going to be and what you tell parents about limiting it.
Social media is such a tricky topic, and in many ways, thank goodness for it in the context of the pandemic. It has allowed young people to stay connected to their peers in a safe way, which is really important for their healthy development. But it's a tool like any other. It can be used to do harm, it can be used to do good, and that's how we should talk about it with our kids, that social media should be making their lives better. It should not be interfering with their sleep. It should not be making them upset. It should not be getting in the way of their studies or helping out around the house. So I am all for social media, so long as it is actually making our kids' lives better, making family life better. As soon as it's undermining our kids' mood or family life, then it's time to put some constraints around it.
Well, for more information, you can go to drlisadamour.com. You can also check out her podcast and find her on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.